Welcome to another episode of The Communicative Leader. I'm your host, Dr. Leah O, and today we're diving into a topic that is perhaps the single greatest barrier to resilient leadership and to sustained change. This toxic cultural mandate that equates strength with solitude. In a world demanding perpetual agility, leaders are often left exhausted and they're navigating complex transitions while carrying the full weight of the organization. The greatest challenge here isn't managing the change itself. It's recognizing and dismantling these self-imposed narratives, these systemic free passes that prevent leaders from communicating their needs, embracing support, and leading with genuine, sustainable agency. So today we're joined by Dr. Khutso Madubanya, a business scholar, inspirational speaker, and author hailing from South Africa. She's the founder of Dance with Change. Dr. Khutso has developed a powerful change method called the pivot method. It blends her PhD research, global experience, and deeply personal memoir into a blueprint for transformation. Her work, culminating in a new mini ebook, No More Free Passes, Breaking the Myth of Strength, challenges the myths that equate worth with productivity and independence with virtue. She invites us to reclaim balance, self-worth, and courage, asserting that true leadership strength is not found in proving one's capability to do it all, my friends, but in the wisdom to know when to share the load. Let's dive in and have some fun. Hello, and welcome to The Communicative Leader, hosted by me, Dr. Leah O'Million-Hodges. My friends call me Dr. O. I'm a professor of communication and a leadership communication expert. On The Communicative Leader, we're working to make your work life what you want it to be. Well, welcome to The Communicative Leader. I'm so excited that you're able to join us today and we're able to learn from you. And I think your work, it's part of it, it's so powerful because you're blending your background as a business scholar with your deeply personal insights, and especially around this paradox of independence that you talk about. So I was hoping you could, as we start, give us a foundation by sharing your personal journey, what led you from your PhD in business management to developing the pivot method and focusing on your mission of helping leaders redefine strength and lead change with agency.
Oh, wow. Thank you for having me, Leah. I'm very honored. I'm Dr. Khutso Madubanya. And well, you asked a really interesting question, my journey. And, all my life, I had thought I'd never questioned that being independent is aspirational. I thought, it was a virtue. I was extremely driven. If you've met me within seconds, I would have told you I'm a fiercely independent woman and I need nothing from anybody because I thought that was the way to be. I wanted to do it all. I thought, you live it once. But part of it, in fact, all of it was engineered by my background. If you want to understand just how deeply driven I was, up until recently, you have to understand, I grew up during apartheid in South Africa. And as a Black female, as a Black girl, being independent or being self-sufficient, rather self-reliant, was not an option. It was a survival mechanism. You had to be self-reliant in order to survive. So, my mom being the strongest person I know, who's also extremely self-reliant and extremely self-independent, inculcated that in me. Khutso, the world is rough. You want to get out there and you don't want to depend on anybody for anything, especially in the context of marriage. You do not want to rely on anybody for that. Anyway, all of that, fast forward, growing up in a community, strong matriarchs, never ever questioning if independence, there's anything wrong with independence. Everybody should be fiercely independent. And about 4 years ago, a whole bunch of life started unraveling. I was living in South Africa at the time with my 3 kids. My then husband decided, well, this is it. He didn't want to play with me anymore. So I decided, as a strong, independent woman will do, only a crazy one with a touch of Survival, right? Picked up my children. Well, I've done it all before. I've been self-reliant all my life. I can go start life in a new country. We're gonna go live exactly where I've always wanted to live. I always wanted to raise my kids back in the US because I've lived in the US on and off for such a long time. So I thought, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Landed in the United States. Well, landed in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Everybody along the way asked me, Khutso, do you have a support network there? Do you know anybody there? Why are you moving there? I thought that was a silly question. I was like, why? Me?
Yeah.
Do you know me? Don't need any support. I can pack up and, we can go live where we need to live. And I got here within a couple of weeks. I got laid off. And so there I was now in the middle of very cold Michigan. It's November in our very unfurnished apartment room. I have 3 children to my name looking at me. Their entire lives are depending on me. And I know nobody. I'm suddenly unemployed. I'm jobless. And what do? And as if that wasn't enough, within, I eventually, Peg, went through we went through it. Okay. I eventually landed a job, but this job required a totally different, it took me in a different direction than I thought. I found myself undergoing a serious career pivot that I hadn't thought about because I needed the job, right? And I needed it then. I needed to feed the children right away, right? So I took this job, which now, on top of everything else, the legal battle, I'm simultaneously having to pivot into a career I knew very little about. In fact, I knew nothing about it in retrospect. And it was amidst all of that chaos that I decided, shoot, I've been sitting on this doctorate for over 20 years now. It's never going to it's now or never. I better finish this doctorate.
Yeah.
Because, hey, I can do it all. I want to prove them wrong. I'm not going to be a statistic, Black woman with 3 unwedded 3 children on the dough. That is not me. Excuse my French. That offends anybody. But those are the sort of thoughts that I had, very much anchored on my whole notion of what strength was, right? So I went ahead, juggling court cases, children needing this and that. They're acclimatizing to a new country, and this new job I have is requiring me to work a heck of a lot more than 8 hours a day. It's like 10 hours, sometimes on weekends. It was just grueling.
Yeah.
And Leah, I remember a few months after, now, everything's going on, this legal battle, which now ended up drawing out for a couple of years. I remember waking up at 3 a.m. one day. I looked at the clock. If you're a woman of a certain age, 3 o'clock is a holy hour because we wake up.
Yeah. Yep.
We have hormonal changes that wake us up. So there I am sitting there looking at the clock thinking, shoot, this is 3 o'clock. And my mind starts racing. Oh my God, I wonder if my children, remember I have 3 children. Now, play dates for this one, a play date for that one. What does this one need? And then legal, am I going to afford the attorney? And what's needed at work? My mind kept racing until I took a deep breath. I said to myself, Khutso, there is nothing glorious about doing it all.
Yep, that is the truth.
This is it. I am burnt out. And I can't afford to be burnt out. I've got 3 little children looking at me.
Yeah.
At that point, I decided, all right, I need to find some tools here. I need to do something that will help me stay feeling empowered. Because I was feeling so burnt out. There's so much happening at the same time. So I started to watch myself. I thought, okay, what can I do? I need this job that's very demanding. I need this and that and this and that. I started to watch my own mind. I realized those narratives I have with the conversations I have with inside my head were really making me or breaking me. Everything from, I'm at work, I, made a mistake. If I told myself, oh my God, Khutso, here you are, you've had this wonderful career. How could you make such a stupid mistake? And how does, everybody's just going to laugh at you. This is ridiculous. How can you? Everything from now, oh, wow, look at that. You know what? Maybe nobody even noticed. And so what?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
what? If nobody knows who I am, my worth, my capabilities are not in any way tied to what people think of me or what this job requires of me. This job is not everything I am. That's not where my worth is. Anyway, through trial and error, that's how I came to develop Pivot. Through that period
Excellent.
of learning, I thought, okay,
Yeah.
oh, look, this thought made me feel great. I was like, yeah, I got
Yeah.
this. And then, oh,
Excellent.
don't do that. Don't do that again. So
Yeah.
now in retrospect, now that I'm on the other side of the chaos, I've encapsulated these, what I call mindset hacks into an acronym, Pivot,
Yeah.
which is 5 letters. And I'll talk about how that, yes, we go down the
Yeah. We
line.
get to that
More
in a
into
few
it.
questions.
Yeah. So
So
that's
let's,
that.
yeah. What a few years for you, Khutso. Yeah.
It's been a season, Leah. It's been a season.
Yes. So let's keep thinking, and I like this idea, the paradox of independence. And you just recently released a free mini ebook, No More Free Passes. And this ebook, it centers on the myth of strength and the paradox of independence. And I was hoping you could define the paradox, and then from a communication perspective, kind of tell us what's the bottom line cost to leaders, especially women, if we confuse this solitary endurance with authentic leadership strength.
Yeah. No, I'm happy to elaborate. Yeah, in my book, when I talk about paradox of independence, I'm really referring to that point where an otherwise healthy attribute, independence as a healthy
Mm-hmm.
attribute, starts to bite us, starts to
Mm-hmm.
hurt us. When I was writing the book, my 11-year-old daughter noticed. She asked, "Mommy, what are you writing this book about?" I said, "I'm writing it about being independent and how this and that." She wrote me a little quick summary, which explains what I mean by the paradox so well. She says to me, in her little thing, she sent me a little message. She said, independence is something that is good. When we are young, we are taught to be independent because it's a healthy thing. It's good to be able to know how to brush your teeth.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to be able to do things on your own. However, if it gets to a point where you identify so much, she didn't quite use the word identify,
Yeah.
but you,
Yeah.
you feel so strongly about independence that you don't even ask for help when you need it. That becomes a problem. And I
Yeah.
thought, what a smart little
So
cookie.
insightful.
Oh,
Yep.
God. Why didn't I have this child a lot sooner?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh,
So, the paradox of independence is it's especially our cultures, our society, Western society, especially where I come
mhm.
from also. It's espoused as this positive value, and it does have positive merit to it. But taken to the extreme, what I've now through my research learned that is called hyperindependence. There's a clinical term for it. It's called
Yeah.
hyperindependence. It can really be detrimental. It can really hurt us. And strong women, especially women in
Mm-hmm.
positions of leadership, tend to suffer from this hyperindependence, and we don't
Yeah.
know it. We think
Mm-hmm.
it's good to do it all. We want to do it all
Mm-hmm.
alone, right? And we want to do it also for those people that we think can do it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So doing it all alone, and doing it for others as well, even those who could
Yeah.
easily help you carry the
Yeah.
load. So from a communication point of view, that kind of mindset, of course, shapes everything. We stop asking for help. We stop asking for input even.
Yeah.
And help is a big one. I'll say it again. I'm
Yeah.
terrified of asking for help. And we only communicate our success. We never,
Yeah.
take the
Mm-hmm.
time to just be vulnerable. And this creates a culture where authenticity, and as I said, vulnerability, it just can't live. It can't exist, right? And that erodes trust and creativity because people need to feel safe. People need to be seen in their true colors. And the bottom line is enormous. I mean, it's huge. Our teams model what they see in us, right? When they see us defining strength as solitary endurance, hey, they learn over here we are silent. We swallow who we are. And over here, and of course, once they swallow who they are, that stunts innovation, right? The creativity goes. And guess what else results? That's very common.
Burnout.
All of us talk about burnout, right?
Yep, exactly.
So it's interesting how many different ways we discover the causes of burnout. So to me, authentic leadership strength is really like it lies in relational honesty. Having the courage to say, "Hey, I can't do this. I can't do it alone," and that's okay. That's what real leadership is to me, or I'd like for it to be for the world.
Yeah, right. And when we're doing that, then we're strengthening psychological safety for our team and letting them know that this is okay for them too.
Exactly. Because they model what we do.
Exactly. So let's think about the free pass culture. And you expand on this idea of no more free passes to, beyond gender, to systems that glorify overwork and cultures, and this is so common, that call burnout strength. But what are the tangible daily communicative signs that an organization is giving a free pass to an unhealthy system? Like, how do you diagnose that? What are we looking for?
Yeah, well, you look for things that look benign on the surface. It's in the culture, it's in the way people do things, really. That's organizations that generally reward exhaustion and they call it excellence, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is that leader that will email you in the middle of the night and, they say, oh, there's no need to reply right now. But all of us know the subtext, right? The sooner you reply, the better.
Yeah.
Right? And why are they emailing in the middle of the night? So that's the expectation that we should be emailing in the middle of the night too, even though they say otherwise, right? And we don't dare say it, right?
Yeah.
And then or you find those situations where praise goes to that person that went over and above and beyond the call of duty, even if it means they've skipped their rest and they don't have any boundaries, they never push back on anything they shouldn't be doing. And it's in those small daily messages, really, Leah, where we communicate inadvertently that your worth is your output and that your availability is your value. We can always tap into you. That's what makes you valuable. And over time, organizations develop, an organization like that will develop a culture of quiet resentment. People just kind of quietly withdraw and they're resentful and quiet in their own quietness. And of course, they burn out, as we already said. And all of it masked under the banner of dedication. We are dedicated. I'm dedicated to my job, but quietly you're dying. Right?
Yeah.
And this especially is hard on high achievers, hyper independent people. Because what do we hear? We hear, well, over here, there's no room for mediocrity. And we are already, so driven. What does that do to us? I like this quote that I saw the other day. It says, high achievers don't burn out because they are weak. They burn out because applause is loudest at the breaking point.
Oh, yeah.
We applaud, we take applause all the way until we are dead.
Yeah.
Still we're not there anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, yes. That's
and
that.
then let's bring pivot back in, because I think this is going to help us to understand an alternative So
Mm-hmm.
you created this pivot method, and pivot is an acronym. And this method is to help us navigate change with agility and agency. So, Kutso, could you walk us through, what pivot stands for? And then I'm wondering too, kind of the second part is how do leaders, if they're subscribing to this pivot method, how do they go from this reactive burden mindset to one that's more proactive and healthier?
Yeah. Yeah. Pivot, as you rightfully said, it's an acronym that, as I said, it stands for 5 letters. It's most useful in times of change, and I want to come back to change in the context of organizational life, because we know research shows us that 70% of change initiatives fail, right? The Boston BCG shared that
Yep.
study. Everybody knows that. And then
Mhm.
more recently, with the surgence of AI, oh my God, that's a whole other can of
Yeah.
worms that we're introducing to
Mhm.
organizations that we don't have existing systems for.
Mhm.
So I feel very strongly about empowering leaders and employees that are not leaders to really strengthen their agility muscles, because
Mhm.
you're gonna need to be very, very adaptable to be able to pivot, unintended,
Yeah.
right? To be able, what I like to say, dance with change,
Yeah.
right? Instead of antagonizing change, really harness it and find rhythm and flow in it so that you're not burnt out by all the
Mhm.
vicissitude. All right, so P stands for pause.
Okay.
When faced with change, as a leader who is reactive and burdened and has a burdened mindset, you really want to pause. That's the first thing you want to do. And by pause, I mean quite literally that, Leah. I mean this. Okay, Leah, stop what you're doing. Just stop. Just stop. Let's together take a deep breath. Exhale. I won't do it again. But I mean just that. Just pause.
Mhm.
I don't mean pause and think and just pause. Reset
Mhm.
your nervous system. Because
Mhm.
what happens is when we're faced with change, we really tend to just want to react. We just want to run, 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 run. And
Yeah.
as research shows us, when you run like that, you're not thinking.
Mhm.
Blood goes to your extremities when faced with a crisis, not to your brain. You can't think. So
Yeah.
the first thing you do is pause, just to stop yourself from being reactive. Pause before you send that email. Pause before you call
Mhm.
that meeting,
Yeah.
right? And I stands for introspect. Now, what are you introspecting here as a leader? Remember, I need to keep clarify. These are all mindset chatter tools. These are what things that you're doing in your mind. I'm not asking you to go, join a yoga group or
Mhm.
go get a tool that's additional. These are things that you do immediately on your own, by yourself, immediately. I keep saying
Mhm.
you can do them at any point in time in your life, right? You can always
Yeah.
pause and you can always introspect. And when you introspect, you're actively cultivating awareness of what threat this new change is presenting to you. Okay, is this a real threat to me? Is it a threat to my identity?
Mhm.
Really? Because half the time you find it's not. And most importantly, what do I need? Give yourself permission to ask yourself, what do I need, as you introspect? Because this is very hard for us hyperachievers, right?
Mhm.
We do not take time to ask, to question what we need. What support do we need? And delegate. Goodness gracious, who else can take this off of your plate, right?
Mhm.
Then V stands for vector. Vector is all about direction. hey, you got limited resources here. You don't have infinite amounts of time. Take a minute to just think, okay, I'm not going to panic, feeling overwhelmed. I can pick a direction that I'm going in, and I don't have to get overwhelmed by it. And most importantly, if this is a new direction, and most often it is, rest assured, take comfort in knowing that you can use what you already know to build the new. You already have what you need to, to adapt to whatever new situation presents itself to you. So just take comfort in that. I found that knowing that, okay, I know how to read. I can always rely on that skill to help me wherever I am, regardless of how maddening everything is. Makes me feel a little more empowered. And then O stands for overcome the fear of making mistakes. When I give my talks, I like to amuse my audiences and say, oh, this is overcoming the fear of the suck. Excuse my French. The fear of sucking. You know, we spend so much time shooting ourselves about things that actually don't matter. Especially those of us who seek external validation. We tend to think, oh, people are judging us. We are appearing weak. We're making all these mistakes. People are going to laugh. But at the end of the day, it really isn't all that serious. Cut yourself some slack. Give up on that perfectionism. It's not perfect. So what? So what? It's not that big a deal. Life is not all that serious at the end of the day. I found that giving myself such a break really helped my cortisol level go down. It's like, whew, okay, don't have to be so hard on myself. And then lastly, T stands for travel forward. And by traveling forward, I mean commit to the new direction you're going in. There's absolutely no point in you looking back and rebuking yourself and wishing and hoping for the life that you no longer have. If you're leading change in an organization, yes, you know where you would like to go, but you might not know how to get there. Remember, you can get there, but commit to the journey. Don't keep thinking you can go to and fro, and if it doesn't work, we'll just go back. No, focus all your energies into creating the new life you want for yourself and for your organization, because it really takes a lot of energy out of you when you keep looking back. So that's what pivot stands for. And I find that if you do these things, if you can model these sort of conversations, you're overall a lot calmer, and you're able to communicate learning in an organization instead of perfection. And your teams will take note. They follow.
Yeah. I think learning and acceptance and adaptation, right? It's all of these really, really positive elements that keep us from getting stuck. Stuck, and then also on that hamster's wheel as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, all right.
So, Khutso, I want to skip ahead to, I think the next question that makes sense is this idea of reclaiming your worth then and identifying that purpose gap. So I know that you invite audiences to reclaim balance and self-worth and kind of reject that myth that equates your worth with how productive you are, that output. So how do you define inherent worth in a highly transactional corporate world? And how does communicating from this place of self-acceptance, help you to become a powerful and a strategic imperative rather than you just being kind of this passive passenger on the ride?
Right. Well, by inherent worth, what I mean is the value that we all have because we exist. So often we forget that, well, actually, I didn't know this until very recently, that the fact that I have worth just because I exist. I don't need to earn my worth. So it's that value that exists before performance in a corporate setting.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a human right. Yes, you're here. It's a human right.
Yes.
You're
Yep.
right. You have value.
Yep.
You just have it.
Yep.
That's a blessing you
Yeah.
come into life with.
Yes, it is inherent.
Yes, yes. And so by the worth revolution, I really invite people to step away from thinking, Earth, you have to work hard in order to be recognized as a somebody, and just reclaim balance and give yourself permission to know that you're okay. Reclaim balance and
Yep.
self-respect. You're valuable just the way you are. And embrace those
Yes.
as leadership imperatives
Yeah.
as a leader.
Yep. Excellent.
Uh,
So, Khutso, oh, I'm sorry. I was going to ask the follow-up of that is so, what is if I'm a leader and I'm subscribing to this idea, and I certainly do. This is not a hypothetical, but just that people are valuable because they are people, because of the dignity of them being here. How do I, as a leader, how do I kind of infuse that in the way I communicate with them and I connect with them and I interact with them?
Yeah. No, you will notice your tone shifts, right? You become a lot more compassionate, a lot more patient. You listen more, and you delegate better. When you delegate,
Mhm.
when you give people things to do as a leader, they
Yep.
feel that you see them, you trust them,
Yep.
right? As I said, you listen more, and overall, you
Mhm.
just lead with far less fear. And people pick up on all these things.
Yep.
They really pick up on your energy.
Mhm.
Whether if you can lead from regardless, whether you're leading from a place of self-acceptance or not, people pick up on your energy. So overall, you
Yes.
just become a lot more rounded, and you pass it on, and your
Mhm.
teams really benefit from that.
Yeah, I really like that. And I'm seeing organizations take a much more human centric approach rather than
Yeah,
a traditional management or output approach, which is just so warming to see. But again, it takes time.
it does.
We can't switch a light, unfortunately. I'm
It
like,
does.
welcome, we've arrived.
Right, right. And it starts with individuals, doesn't it? It all
Hmm.
starts in the
Yep,
individual level. As I said, pivot is about what you tell yourself in your head as a person, right?
yep,
And it's all these
exactly.
transformations that then it transmute outwardly.
Yes. So excellent. So, Kutsu, now I'd like us to think about we're going to kind of take some of your background and take your pivot method and think about how to transform that into strategy. And so, as you shared, you completed your PhD amidst a relocation. And I think that's an understatement. It was like, transatlantic relocation, a career pivot, a difficult legal battle. Just kind of the most challenging circumstances you can imagine. And of course, this is a moment where you had a choice. How do you address that adversity? So I'm wondering if kind of drawing from your experience plus, your PhD, your work, for a leader who is overwhelmed now by an unexpected change or crisis, and I know we've walked through pivot and the pause and pivot, but what are some other steps or things that they should be mindful of to ensure that this crisis, this really challenging season they're in, that it doesn't define their leadership narrative, right? That way they see themselves, they talk about themselves, they understand themselves.
Yeah, I would say really not being afraid to be seen. Leaders need to just stop proving, trying to be so strong, stop
Mhm.
trying to appear so strong, and just be a lot more real, if I could say.
Mhm.
That as the foundation on anything and everything they do. Just stop trying so
Mhm.
hard to appear strong.
Yeah.
That just kills you, and it kills
Yep.
everybody, right? To begin with.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, that is the first thing. And also just realizing that vulnerability is a strength.
Mhm.
That when your external message is, I can do it all, the team hears there's no room for imperfection here.
Mhm.
And as I already said, and that's going to create a culture where people just have to edit themselves, they overwork, and they avoid asking for help because they're afraid that you're going to
Yeah.
judge them.
Yeah.
So as a key foundation of any strategy, no matter what you do, just stop trying to appear strong. Just stop trying to look
Mhm.
strong and
Mhm.
allow people to be themselves.
Mhm. Yeah.
Allow people to be themselves.
Yeah. I love that.
Because
Go ahead.
that's what's going to give them psychological safety, that word that you use that I love so
Mhm.
much. Without that
Mhm.
psychological safety, where you as a leader can actually, say things like, hey, I'm learning this too.
Mhm.
I need your
Yep.
input.
Yep.
When people hear that, no matter what kind of strategy, it's a marketing strategy, it's whatever strategy it
Mhm.
is, they approach it from a place of authenticity and agency. They feel empowered
Mhm.
because they feel seen. And because they are
Yep.
not going against who they are, you're not running the risk of a burnout, which
Yep.
has, if you're thinking about ROI,
Yeah.
kiss it goodbye right there.
Exactly.
You can kiss it goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you were talking, Kutsu, I was thinking too, you were talking about the leader who's always trying to project strength and it communicates to team members that they can't make mistakes. And I think it also communicates, I can do it all, so I don't really need you.
Yes.
Right. And to an employee, even though this is not explicitly said, picking up on that feeling, I think we can just have that presenteeism, like we're there, but we're not really there, or that quiet quitting, we're doing the bare minimum. It's not making me want to innovate. It's not making me want to like, hey, let's flag this now. There is some potential unintended consequences. Like I am just there for the ride. I'm not an active participant anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're very right, Leah. That's
Yeah,
exactly
just
right.
to recognize the way that can grow legs and really negatively impact your workplace. So
Yeah.
a moment ago, Kutso, you mentioned ROI, and that's my next question. So your work, it challenges these deep-seated cultural myth of strength. I'm doing strength in quote marks because I'm with you, girl. I don't think anymore, that idea of trying to do it on your own, that is not strength. That is madness in my mind right now in this season. But how do you help these skeptical executives who, are looking just at quarterly metrics? How do you help them understand the tangible ROI of investing time and energy into this work of redefining independence, prioritizing mental self-worth, right? Embracing vulnerability. What does that messaging look like?
Now, that KPI focused executive you were asking, how do I
Yeah.
convince them
Yeah.
that, this beneficial to invest in soft skills and it's not all fluff?
Mm-hmm.
And I hear you. And I totally get that. I totally get
Mm-hmm.
it. When you're responsible for quarterly, numbers, it's really quite hard to see value in something that you you can't directly quantify.
Mm-hmm.
It may even seem like a distraction to you. It's like all
Mm-hmm.
these soft foo things.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm challenging them to think about it in a slightly different way. Think about it as systemic risk management.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't take care of people's self worth, if you don't redefine strength so that people don't feel that, they have to be working all the
Mm-hmm.
time, and if you don't prioritize self worth, burnout's going to happen. We already talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
And, our Gallup research, I'm sure you know this because all of us cite these popular
Yeah.
studies. Yeah, we know burnout costs organizations billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah.
That's a fact. And we know that teams with high psychological safety outperform their peers by a good 40%.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted some place to quantify your ROI,
Yeah.
that's a good starting point.
Mm-hmm.
It's investment you're making into your people now so that they can continue to do what they do best. Instead of, all right, did you do it yesterday? Even if it killed you, did you do it
Yeah.
yesterday?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. That's really helpful. And I think that's a nice way to, accommodate your communication to meet the expectations of the audience and using the language that they're used to using, but also helping them to introduce a new way, a new mindset, right? A new way of thinking and doing.
Oh, we're done?
Oh no, we're not done. I was just saying I like that idea. So we have two final questions for you.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
So the two final questions, this is how we end all episodes of the
Yes.
communicative leader, and they go hand in hand. So the first one is, we like to leave our listeners with pragmatic leadership communication tips, a challenge, advice. So the first part is for our titled leaders out there, our managers or directors. And then the second part of the question is, what is the tip, challenge, or advice related to leadership or leadership communication for our employees of all ranks?
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I think for leaders, I already said it. Just stop trying. Stop trying to look strong all the time. Really,
Mm-hmm.
you just start being more real. Allow yourself to be vulnerable. Allow people to see you for who you are,
Mm-hmm.
because you're fabulous the way you are. That's why you are who you are. You're different,
Mm-hmm.
right? And our teams don't need perfect leaders. They just want leaders that are present, leaders that can
Mm-hmm.
see them, leaders that understand and really can talk to them and support them where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And remember that vulnerability communicates trust, really, and
Yeah.
provides that psychological safety you and I keep talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my one advice for leaders. One piece of advice for leaders in terms of all employees, I call it across action industries. In fact, this does apply to leaders as well. It's just to all human beings. Really, I would like everyone to know this. You don't have to prove your worth to be valuable.
Mm-hmm.
You do not have to prove your worth to be valuable. You're already valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Many of us spend so much time, so much of our careers over explaining ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
overproducing, overperforming, just to feel seen.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have to. Your worth was never meant to be a line item on your
Yeah.
performance review, right?
Yeah.
We think of ourselves as, oh my God, am I going to get a pay raise? How did I perform? How did I perform? Am I going to be seen as performing over and above?
Mm-hmm.
Our worth is inherent. Let's take the pressure off.
Yeah.
Let's take
Yeah.
the pressure off. And now the danger lies in the way we communicate, of course. If we communicate from a place of proving, we
Mm-hmm.
speak to impress, right? And not to connect. And what does that do? It isolates us.
Mm-hmm.
And when we chase validation, we don't get clarity
Mm-hmm.
that aligns with our purpose and who we really are. Everybody, hence this whole purpose is so big in the industry right now, in corporate right now. Everybody wants to align with
Yeah.
purpose, right? But
Mm-hmm.
we can't even talk about purpose if we can't be honest. This is all about honesty.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
At the end
There's
of
work
the
that
day,
has to happen
yes, at the
first.
end of
Yep.
the day, we just have to be honest with ourselves. Show up as who we truly are
Mm-hmm.
and have the
Mm-hmm.
space to let others do the same as leaders. Um,
Exactly. Yeah. What a powerful idea.
yeah. And I'd like to say a challenge to all of us. and just in our next meeting, let's practice doing this. Just practice communicating from a place of self-acceptance, where you're not critical, where you're just being yourself. Do I really agree with this? Really, really genuinely, what am I here? What do I really feel? What do I really need? And not be so defensive, because oftentimes we're in a meeting, we're really thinking about, oh God, what's going to be needed of me, and how do I align myself with what's needed? How am I going to protect myself? And if you do that, if you're able to make that transition in your head, you'll see your voice will be a lot calmer, because you're not fighting anymore. And you're a lot more agile. You'll be clearer and more true and more aligned with yourself. And you'll feel a lot more courageous. Talk about stepping into, getting rid of fear.
Yes.
That's what
Excellent.
empowerment is about. Being able to live your life with a sense of empowerment, no matter what comes your way.
Exactly. Well, Khutso, thank you for joining us today on The Communicative Leader. I've learned a lot in our conversation. I wrote down the steps of the pivot method, something that I'm going to continue to think about and to put into practice. So thank you so much. I know that this will leave listeners with a lot of really helpful, tangible tools.
Oh, thank you for having me, Leah. I really had a good time. And yeah, if people want to learn more about the kind of work that I do or get a free copy of my book, I'm at dancewithchange.com. That's my website, or my email is info@dancewithchange.com.
All right, my friends, that wraps up our conversation today. Until next time, communicate with intention and lead with purpose. I'm looking forward to chatting with you again soon on The Communicative Leader.